Hi everyone, welcome to A Life in Movies, the interview show from All the Right Movies. My name is Luke. On the show we talk to people in entertainment about 3 of their favourite films. And today I'm talking to a journalist, podcaster, New York Times best-selling author, TV writer and producer, and all-round man of the people. It is Shea Serrano. How you doing, Shea?
What up, baby? I'm great. How about you?
Yeah, great, thank you. Where you talking from?
I'm in San Antonio, Texas.
Is that your permanent base, or do you move around a lot?
Oh, no. This is my permanent base. I was born here. I left for a little while. You know, you like wander away from home for 15 years or whatever when you're becoming an adult.
Yeah.
And then I found my way back here a couple of years ago. Where are you?
I'm in the northeast of England, just outside of a place called Newcastle. Have you ever been to the UK?
I don't think so. Wait, hold on. Does Paris count as the UK?
Not these days, no.
Okay, well then, no. What about Italy?
Italy, no. I mean, it's still like a 3-hour flight to get to Italy.
Oh, okay. Then no, I've not been to the UK. Those are the only places. Those are the only places in Europe I've been to. We went there a few years ago when my wife and I celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary.
Oh, yes.
We never got to go on like a honeymoon because we had all these complications that came up around the time of the wedding, like medical stuff. But so 10 years we wanted to go somewhere. Well, we didn't go there. We didn't go to the UK, turns out. I thought we did.
Paris and Italy's better, I think. Where did you go in Italy?
We went to Venice.
I mean, it's probably the greatest place in the world, so I think you chose the right place.
It was so cool, dude. It was so cool. It looked like in all of the movies. Like everybody was cruising around on boats. All of the people were super like handsome and attractive and like cool looking. It was great. It was a wonderful time.
Okay, so coming to you live from San Antonio, we're going to talk about 3 movies that Shea's chosen. Are these your all-time favorite, Shea, or just personal connection, or just ones that you plucked out of thin air?
These are movies that I love. You could put them, all 3 of them, on my all-time favorites list. If I were to like organize them into my 10 favorite movies or 20 favorite movies or whatever, all 3 of these would 100% be in there. I don't think they would be the top 3, but they would be in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to do a top 3, isn't it?
Difficult to do a top 20. It changes so much. Yeah, it's like every single time I think I have it pinned down, and then the one that I know for sure, my all-time favorite ever movie, is this movie. I have this giant poster behind me, this framed poster of a movie called Blood In, Blood Out, which is like a Chicano gangster movie from the early 90s. That's my number 1 favorite movie ever. I love it so much.
Right.
I know that one's number 1. I don't know numbers 2 through 20. You've not seen it?
No.
Oh my God, you got to see it. So the tricky part of this one is Disney owns the rights to it.
Right.
But it's it's like a gangster movie, so they're not going to put it on Disney Plus.
No.
Or whatever.
So
but
is it not streaming anywhere?
You can't watch it anywhere. It's not on streaming anywhere.
Oh,
every couple of months, somebody will upload a version of it to YouTube, and you can watch it on YouTube for free. But that's the only way you're going to catch it on streaming. Otherwise, you got to have a hard copy of it, which I prefer.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if you're a hard copy guy, like a physical medium. Like I like.
You're a VHS guy, aren't you?
Yeah, I like VHS tapes the most. DVDs are cool as well, but there's something special about VHS tapes to me.
Yeah, the same for me. I think we're the similar age. I think you're 42, and I think it's just nostalgia for me.
Yeah, that's got to be a big part of it. I think number 1, nostalgia. Number 2, they just look cool. They look like, I mean, they're like little movie posters, which I appreciate. Also, recently, I started collecting them like several years ago, like 2017 or something, right? Just like I happened to be in a thrift store. They had a big bin of them for sale. They're like $0.25 each or something like that, 33 cents each. And I was like, oh man, I've not seen these in so long. And I grabbed a couple, and I just had them on my bookshelf in my office. And then I just slowly started buying more and more of them. And then, so I at this point, I've collected maybe like almost 600. I have like 600 of them, right?
Wow.
And in the last like couple of weeks, I bought a TV, like an old Zenith 9-inch VCR TV combo for my office.
Cool.
And I'll just put it on like I'm in a fucking Blockbuster or whatever. It's just playing on the side, and it makes me so happy. Like to like pull the cassette out and put it in, and you hear it like rev up and like, and then it starts. It's so, I love it, man.
Yeah, like one of the very early VHSs the VCRs that I had, must have been early 80s. the remote was on a lead, and the lead connected to the VCR, and you could only do it that way.
That's great. That's
That
so
was
dope.
amazing. Okay, cool. Sure. Let's get into it then. First film, which one have you picked out?
My first one is White Men Can't Jump.
Yes. From 1992, written and directed by Ron Shelton, White Men Can't Jump stars Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson as Sidney Dean and Billy Hoyle, two mismatched street basketball players who spark up an unlikely friendship on the courts in LA while trying to keep their relationships afloat. The supporting cast is sprinkled with ex-pros and an unbelievable turn from Rosie Perez as Billy's girlfriend, Gloria. We're in Sidney Dean's house now, Shea. Why have you chosen White Men Can't Jump?
I think White Men Can't Jump it's my favorite sports movie ever. I think it's the greatest sports movie ever. It's so much fun to watch, especially again, this you mentioned this came out in 92. So that means I probably saw it. I didn't see it in a theater. I just saw it like on TV.
Yeah,
I
me
probably
too.
found it around 94 and 95, right? So that puts me at 13, 14 years old, which is right around the same time that I had like come across a basketball player named Reggie Miller, who was the first basketball player that I ever loved. Just this like he played for the Pacers, of course.
Yeah.
He was just this sort of shit talking underdog who was always like sort of picking verbal fights with people, and he's out on the court and he's running and he's shoving people and doing his thing, and I just thought he was the coolest person that I'd ever seen play basketball. And then
Yeah.
I come across this movie, and the whole movie is that. So the first time I watched it, I'm a teenager, and I'm like, man, this is the coolest shit that I've ever seen. This is like all of the stuff that I love all at once. And then you watch it, like I've watched it probably in my life 50 times. And each time you watch it, especially as you age, you just like pick up different parts of it. You realize when you're an adult, like this is a movie about friendship. You think
Yeah.
when you're a kid, oh, this is a movie about, first you think it's a movie about basketball. And then you think it's a movie about love and like this relationship that doesn't work out between Billy and Gloria. And then you
Yeah.
realize at the end, like, oh no, this is about Sydney and Billy, like warring best friends who like enter this new phase of life together. Like it touches on all of the things. It's expertly paced. It's wonderfully written. It's so smart and clever and just like it just does all of the things I want in a movie. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. I hadn't seen it for a few years, and when I came back to revisit it for this conversation, I couldn't believe how well it held up. The script's really, really smart. All the beats really work well. And Wesley Snipes has got like bucket loads of charisma.
Oh my God, he's incredible. He's one of my favorite actors ever. He, of course, has a ton of movies, but he has this stretch beginning in the early 90s with like, I think the first time I saw him was in Major League.
Yeah,
And I was like,
love
this
it.
dude is so incredible. And that's the first movie I saw him in. The very first actual thing I saw him in was he shows up in the Bad video, the Michael Jackson Bad video. He's
Right,
like one of
yeah.
the street toughs that gives Mike a hard time, right? But even then, you're like, man, what is it about this person who I just want to see more of them? He shows up in Major League, and you're like, man, this rules. And then he gets like a big feature starring role in New Jack City a
Yeah.
couple of years later as Nino Brown, and just like everything he did for like 10 years was just incredible. He has a string of action movies. I'm a big action movie. It's Passenger 57,
Yeah.
Boiling Point, Rising Sun, Demolition Man. Like he just is. He teams back up again later with Woody and Money Train.
Oh, yeah.
He just has like this electricity in his bones that when he's on screen, you have to like negotiate with your own eyeballs to blink because you don't want to miss a single frame of like the thing that he's doing or what he's in. We didn't even talk about when he gets to doing Blade, which is an all-time character. I just even today as a grown adult 42-year-old husband and father, and I just love him. I just love when he shows up on the screen. I'm like, yes, give me more of that. Give me as much Wesley as I can get.
Ah, he's absolutely incredible. And I said at the top, Rosie Perez. I mean, she's outstanding.
Yeah. It's like, so you have those three that are leading the movie, Woody, Wesley, and Rosie, and every single one of them is just totally dialed in and like ready to make this an all-time great performance. Like it never feels like one of them is trying to steal from another one in a scene. It feels like they're all playing. I mean, to stay on theme, they're all playing like a perfect three-man weave on a fast break sort of situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just boom, boom, boom. They set each other up so many times. We have moments in the movie where they each get to be like the star.
Mm-hmm.
They each get to be the hero. They each get to be the asshole. They each get to be the foil. Like it's so great to watch.
Yeah. I was doing a bit of reading up on the film. Apparently, it was one of Stanley Kubrick's favorite films, which I was stunned to read.
It's got to be everybody's favorite. I feel like if you watched it, then you loved it.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it's
the only
irresistible.
way you don't love this movie is if you didn't watch it. Yeah. Fucking Stanley Cube. Fucking Cube. Cube loved it, man. Come on.
So, have you got a favorite scene from the film, Shea?
My favorite scene is the opening scene when we get introduced to Billy. When we get introduced to Sydney, Billy ends up hustling Sydney the first time because it's stretched out over like 20 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And you get to watch Wesley play basketball. You get to watch Billy play basketball. You get to watch him doing his like shit talking thing, and it's pretty. It's so pretty. And you're watching all of this happen, and then they bring in Billy. Like he steps in when a player gets injured, and he plays like the last 2 points of the game, and his team ends up winning. But he doesn't shoot the ball, and that ends up becoming this competition, this conversation where he's like, "Yeah, you're probably right, Sydney. Like I probably am no good at basketball. I probably can't shoot a lick.
Yeah.
Like whatever." What's it worth to you to find out? And then it becomes like, oh, I see what's happening here. They're about to have a shooting competition. And now it's just those two guys. It's just those two matching charisma, matching shot for shot. You sort of know what's going to happen, but also you kind of don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's great. You also have Kadeem Hardison in there just tossing grenades into the scene. And it's so good. You get this great turn when they're shooting. If somebody's listening, you've not seen the movie, they do a shooting contest. They're going to shoot 5 shots from the top of the key. And they're going to alternate. Wesley goes first, he buries his, then Woody buries his. And Wesley buries his second one, and then Woody. And then they just alternate like that. And as they're going, you see Wesley, his confidence as the scene goes on, starts to deteriorate. Yeah. He realizes, oh shit, I'm in the tank with another great white shark, right, is what's happening. And all the while, Billy, who's presented as this dork the whole time, you watch his confidence grow and grow and grow. You watch him become you watch his character become like who he is in the movie, which is this brash braggart who just can't help himself. Yeah. And he just is running his mouth more and more and more until we get the turn at the very end when Wesley's about to shoot his last shot. Woody leans into his ear and he's like, "Don't worry, Sydney. I've hustled a hell of a lot better players than you. Don't put up no brick." And then it all comes like crashing down on Wesley's head. I think I mentioned that Wesley goes first. He lets Billy go first. Anyway, but it's just this like great turn. Yeah. And then he's walking off and the guy's like, "Man, you got lucky," or whatever. And he tells him, "Luck's got nothing to do." It's like every single line in this scene is incredible. It's 20 minutes of just movie perfection. I have 3 sons. Yeah. And one of them is like super into basketball. And like he like plays for the school team or whatever. And like when White Men Can't Jump showed up on Hulu, and I was like, "Sit down with me. You didn't even have to watch this whole movie, son. I'm not even going to tell you got to watch this whole movie. Just watch the first scene. Watch the first 20 minutes with me." And he sat down and watched it and just pulled into it. And I'm like, "All right, you can go." And then he just disappears off into his room. And then he went into his room and watched the rest of it on his own.
Amazing.
In his room. And I was like, that's fucking incredible. If you can get a 15-year-old kid to not be on TikTok, like you're doing something right. Yeah. And man, what a great, great movie. Oh my God.
Incredible.
Oh shit. Just oh, it is hard goddamn work being this good.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh, Rabbit is. Am I starting to get to you?
No, Sidney, you aren't getting to me. You're just making my eardrums hurt. See, the thing is, you guys look at me, you see the backwards hat, the gray socks, the funky outfit, and you say, "Now this guy's a chump," am I right?
No, fucking geek.
A fucking like. Geek, exactly,
like
all right?
Geek.
But what you don't realize is that it ain't easy. It is hard goddamn work making something this pretty look like a chump or a geek. So I must be doing it for a reason.
Well, you got me convinced, whatever the reason may be.
Cool. So one down. What's the second film on your list here?
Second film, Training Day.
Ooh. From 2001, Training Day was written by David Ayer and directed by Antoine Fuqua. It stars Denzel Washington in his Oscar-winning performance as corrupt detective Alonzo Harris, who breaks in a rookie officer, Jake Hoyt, played by Ethan Hawke, and takes him on a day in the job that he'll never come back from. This one's got a great supporting cast as well, but King Kong ain't got shit on Denzel, Shea. Why'd you pick this one?
I picked this one because I was trying to do a thing when you said we were going to do 3 movies. I immediately got very excited, and I wanted to touch across different different genres. So we get one from the early '90s, one from the early 2000s here. We also have Denzel Washington, who is the greatest actor who has ever lived, the number one actor of all time. We have him and as you mentioned, in his Oscar-winning performance as the villain. Up to this point, we've really only ever seen him as the heroic hero of the situation. He shows up here and just puts on a fireworks show, like immediately. When the movie starts, it's Ethan Hawke in his house, calm, and when he's like nervous for this first day, he's going to meet this new training officer and whatever. And then he gets a phone call, and you hear like the edges of Denzel's voice on the phone call, and he just sort of is real curt and hangs up on him eventually.
Yeah.
Ethan walks into the diner and sits across from Denzel, and Denzel immediately is like, I'm in charge of not only the situation, but of your life from right here going forward. Like, I'm in complete control. I'm going to do everything I can to keep you off balance. I'm going to be intimidating, and I'm going to be cool, and I'm just going to be smarter than you and better than you in every single respect. I don't know if you can say that this is the best performance he's ever had. I think that's always going to be Malcolm X when he showed up in there, which he should have won the Oscar for in '92. But he comes here with a whole new thing. Watching him do it, it felt like you were seeing a new person. Because if we look at like Malcolm X, we'll just list off a few, but like Malcolm X, Pelican Brief, Philadelphia, Virtuosity, even something like Fallen or He Got Game or whatever, The Hurricane. Like he was always using this like unflappable Denzel mode that he goes into, this like a very masculine archetype. Yeah. But it was always aimed in a certain direction. It was always aimed toward good for the most part. Yeah, always. And he took that and he aimed it toward bad. And it felt like, holy shit, like this is so terrifying without him ever really doing anything to terrify you. Just like a look. Yeah. Or like a phrase that he says, or when he or when he like decides to give you a little bit of information, and it's like, God, this is an incredible performance from him. This incredible performance from Ethan Hawke. This is one of the few times that somebody was able to sit across from Denzel Washington and like match him beat for beat. Like we saw Viola do it when they did Fences, and you're like, oh, okay, this is great. We see Ethan Hawke do it here. Like we saw Tom do it in Philadelphia. Like there were a few times when there was somebody else who was opposite him, and all that it did was make Denzel even better. Yeah. And this is a perfect movie for me when you're watching it. Oh my God. I saw it in the theater multiple times.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable what he does, because this character is an absolute arsehole from the jump off, like you said, straight away.
From the start.
But then it's incredible what he does, because it gives that character a lot of appeal. And I'm watching this film thinking, yeah, he's got a point here when he says, like some of those things he's saying, I think, I'm on his side. And that character is despicable. I can't believe that you come around to his character at certain points through the film. I mean, at the end, obviously not, but Denzel, incredible.
Yeah, it's wild to watch, because even now, rewatching it, you're with him up until he shoots Roger. Yeah. Like up until that moment, you're like you're saying, like he's making some good points. Like I get what's going on. Oh yeah. This is how this level of policing is. I get it. Okay, cool. It makes sense. And then he shoots Roger. And then not only does he shoot Roger and kill Roger, he tells Jake, "You're the person who shot him." And then he tells all of the soldiers, "Yeah, what did you see?" "We saw Jake shoot him." And then Jake is like, "You've been planning this all day?" And he tells him, "I've been planning this all week." And you're like, "Oh my fucking God, this is like this is like he's evil. He's actually evil. Yeah. He's not just scary and intimidating, because there are a lot of like scary, intimidating, but good people, which you think he's going to do in this movie. Because again, we have a 20-year history, a 15-year history of watching him do that, or whatever it was, 13 years, right? We're like, it's like he cashed in all of those chips in this one moment to just become evil. And it's so unsettling, and especially on the rewatch. There's a part in the rewatch where you're watching him just sort of set Ethan Hawke on fire over and over and over again. Yeah. And then they have this great scene when he sits in the car after they shoot Roger, and he's sitting in the car and he's like breaking it down for Ethan Hawke, and he's being soft with him and he's being warm with him, and he's like, listen, I'm sorry that I have to be the one to tell you it's going to be this way, but this is how it is, and like da 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 da, like he's like bringing him in, he's like taking care of him and consoling him, and you think, wait, is he good? Is he he puts that hint of doubt in there. But then, of course, he takes him to the Mexicans to go get killed, right?
Jesus.
But right before they sit down in the car and have that scene, we get a quick shot of Denzel in the car. Ethan is Jake is on the outside. He sees Alonzo on the phone.
Yeah.
And you hear it. If you turn the TV up, you can hear it. And he's like, yeah, just make sure that bathtub is clean. Like, that's what he says. Like, he is right there telling him, hey, I'm bringing this guy to kill him. Yeah. Okay? Do that. And then he hangs up the phone. And then he puts his arm around him, and he's like, come here. I'm going to take care of you. I'm the father figure. Yeah. You can trust me still. Like, it's unbelievable what's going on right there.
That's a revelation on a rewatch.
Oh my God.
That's
He's
incredible.
so just nastily evil in it. It's great.
It feels really dangerous as well. I think Anton Fuqua does it, shoots it in such a way and puts you in situations that it feels really dangerous and it feels really authentic as well. It kind of like, I love White Men. Obviously, I love White Men Can't Jump, but it feels like a different LA, even though it kind of is trying to portray the same.
Yeah, this feels closer to like the Heat Los Angeles than White Men Can't Jump Los Angeles. You know what I mean? Like like everybody is a wolf, and you gotta fucking be a wolf or you gotta die. Like those are your only options. Oh my God, what an incredible movie! My favorite scene is I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I'm gonna give you two. All right, cool. I'm gonna give you my favorite Denzel scene is the diner scene, because I just love when a movie figures out how to introduce a character in a way that feels exciting and like it's already like it's going 400 miles an hour, right? And that's what they do with Denzel. He's just sitting in the diner at the table reading his paper. That's all he's doing, and you're like, oh my God, this is gonna be so good. I wrote a thing one time. I used to work at this website called The Ringer. It's like a pop culture website. And I wrote a thing one time. It was like an academic paper about movie scenes that Denzel did where he was sitting at a table, because they're just special. For some reason, you get Denzel at a table. You have him in Training Day, for example. He has a table scene in the movie Philadelphia when he's talking to Tom Hanks. He has a table scene in The Equalizer when he's talking with the Russian mob guy, and he's like, what do you think you see when you look at me, or whatever. Like, it's just Denzel at a table is great, but watching him again in 2001 and being like, oh my God, this is gonna be so much fun, is what it feels like when that movie starts and you have that first scene and he's just fucking harassing Ethan Hawke the whole time. That's my favorite Denzel scene. My favorite, like, maybe scene of the movie is Jake at the table with the Mexicans and they're playing cards. Jesus. And you're so uncomfortable the whole time, and you're so tense because you know something bad is going to happen. Yeah. You know that terror is coming. They're able to get the gun away from Jake. They're able to get the bullets out of it. Like, it becomes this whole thing, and he like takes the gun, but he doesn't have the bullets now, and it's like, oh, it's time for us to go. And the Smiley tells him, hey, there's nothing out there for you, dog. And he looks out the window, and Jake is gone. And you're like, Jesus. Oh, fuck. Oh, God. This is like, you do the thing of like, how is he going to get out of this? There's no way he's going to get out of this alive. There's absolutely no way. It becomes this whole big, they beat him up. They drag him into the bathroom. They get the shotgun. They're about to kill him. The water's running. And then they find the wallet. Yeah. And you're like, oh my God. It's so fucking good. I remember watching that. The first time I watched this movie, I was in college, right? This is 2001. So I'm in college. It comes out. At this point, I love Denzel Washington already. So I'm like, I want to go see this. My mom is in town visiting. I said, Mom, let's go to the movies. Let's go watch this Training Day movie. And she's like, okay, cool. And we went and we watched it. And just out and sitting in the theater, just like holding on to the armrest during this moment, because you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. You're like, are they really going to kill this guy? This is going to be crazy. Like, just watching it and being so twisted up is what I remember from that moment. And then we finished the movie, and I'm like you're just like metaphorically covered in sweat, and you're like, oh my God, oh, what a great movie. I can't believe that turned out the way that it turned out. Right. And then we finish, and then we go home. And then, my mom leaves. This is on a Sunday. My mom leaves, and then my girlfriend shows up the next day. had been out of town. She went back home. She gets there on Monday, and I'm like, we got to go to the movies. You got to see this movie. We got to.
Yeah.
Like the next day, we went to go watch it, and we ended up watching it like 3 times in the theater. But man, it's just Fuqua's holding a knife to your throat for the whole movie. Is what it feels like. It's like, don't move, don't you move. Oh my God, I love it. I love it so much.
Like, how's Jake going to get out of this situation? Because we know these 3 guys they won't crack. He's been taken there to be killed. No. So how is he going to get out of it? And you forget about that moment at the start in the alleyway with the girl. And then that comes out. Oh my God. It's so well written.
Oh, it's so great. And then they do the thing where he calls her. Jake is like, oh, I saved that girl. She was about to be raped by like these homeless dudes, and I saved her. Like he's already pleading for his life without pleading for his life in this moment. And Smiley doesn't believe. The great Cliff Curtis plays this scene perfectly. Doesn't believe him, and he's like, but he like, well, let me check, let me verify this.
Yeah.
Because if this is true, I have to spare you. Like he's got his own sort of moral code.
Yeah.
Which they establish when he's talking about Alonzo, and he's like, the other guy, Noel Guglielmi is his real name. I think he plays like the Hector character in this movie as well. The bald head Mexican guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, Alonzo's a ruthless, low down, dirty vato. Like, but that's why I like him. And Smiley is like, no, that's why I never shake his hand, because he don't respect nothing. He don't respect nada.
Yeah.
Right. Like they established that Smiley has his own code. But anyway. He finds a wallet. He makes the phone call. He calls the girl, his niece, and he's asking her, "Hey, how was school today?" And she tries to lie in the beginning, and you're like, "Tell the truth, girl. Please fucking tell the truth." Like you're pleading at the screen again. So well written, so well acted, so well directed. You love when you watch a movie, but you've seen thousands of movies probably in your life. Like we're like. It seems like you and I grew up just loving this thing, and we're just going to spend so much of our lives talking about it. We've seen so many movies, right? Yeah. And so you feel like often, if I sit down and watch a movie, all right, 10 minutes in, I've got a pretty good idea what's going to happen.
I know where it's going to go.
I know what's going to happen. I'm feeling pretty confident, right? But there are some movies that you don't. When that happens, it's like a special feeling when you're in the theater and you realize, I can't guess what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you have to give yourself up to the movie and just like let the director, let the writers, let the actors take you where they want to take you. I remember a similar thing happened when I watched Get Out.
Yeah.
And Get Out gets going, and like 20 minutes in, you're like, I have no idea what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
And you just give yourself to Jordan Peele, right? And the same thing is happening here. Like you just give up. You're like, I can't guess. I don't know. And you give up, and you just are watching it completely helpless. Oh my God. And then, man, when they pull that off, when they pull off the switch, and then they pull him out of the bathtub, and he's like, hey, it's just business. Like, we're good, right? Like, I need you to say we're good. And then they let him go, and he's on the bus riding home.
Yeah.
You think he's riding home, and then he shows up at Eva Mendez's house or the apartment, and then they have the shootout, and then it still leads to this great monologue that Jake has, and the showdown, and come on.
It's an amazing third act. It's amazing.
I want to watch it again right now. Shit.
Hey, white boy. You asked me, Holmes, but that's just, of course, if you ask. I think Alonzo played you for a fool, Lester.
Big time, Holmes. Hey, where you going? What's your deal? Alonzo pulled off a miracle on him. Times are tight. Scared up a lot of cash. What do you jack, Holmes?
I don't know.
He jacked Roger. Lasted the fool, huh?
Alonzo, Holmes, I think he's a low-down, dirty, ruthless vato, eh? But I like that, Holmes. I like that.
No, that's why I never shake his hand, Holmes. He don't respect nada.
This episode of All the Right Movies is sponsored by BetterHelp. Without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy works. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships or at work and not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better, because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself, because you are your greatest asset. And a special offer to all ATRM listeners: you can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/ATRM. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/ATRM. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode of All the Right Movies. And to end, Shea, what's your third film?
Third movie, The Social Network.
Yes. Chronicling the Harvard years of Mark Zuckerberg as he builds his Facebook empire, The Social Network also cross-cuts the dual lawsuit brought to his door by best friend Eduardo Saverin and arch nemesis Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss. Written by Aaron Sorkin and directed by David Fincher, The Social Network has a cast overspilling with talent, including Jesse Eisenberg, Andrew Garfield, Rooney Mara, Justin Timberlake, and Armie Hammer. We've made it to the final club, Shea. What do you love about The Social Network?
Oh man! So this is our third era of movies. We do White Men Can't Jump.
Yeah.
Fun sports movie from the early '90s that feels very much like that.
Yeah.
Then we do Training Day. We get an evil, one of the all-time great villains, and then now we're going over to Social Network, which is a masterpiece of a movie in so many different respects. Like you mentioned, directed by David Fincher, who does with this movie what maybe like three other people in the history of the world can do with this movie, right? You have David Fincher just putting all of his muscle into this.
Yeah.
Just like doing all of the David Fincher things with the lighting, with the mood, like making the most static scene feel just like alive and like threatening. And I don't know how he does it, but I just know that he does it. I know when you plug in a David Fincher movie, there's going to be a moment where you're just like, fuck, like I'm up. Well, he's turning my pockets inside out right now, and I don't know how he's doing it. But you've got him doing that, and you've got Aaron Sorkin, who turns conversation into combat, is what he does in this movie, and they do it immediately. Immediately when it's Rooney and Eisenberg at the table, and they're going back and forth faster than humans should talk. They're just like, brr, 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 brr. And Rooney sort of comments on it without like winking at the camera. She does the whole like being in a conversation with you is like being on a Stairmaster.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which so many people have tried to rip off what Aaron Sorkin does, but nobody can do what Aaron Sorkin does except for Aaron Sorkin. Like you just, it's great, and they keep that up for the whole movie, the whole time. Anytime somebody sits down to talk, it's just like pop, 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 like a fucking woodpecker.
Yeah.
On the tree, just like brrr, and they're all doing it, going so fast. And then you have the score, fucking Trent Reznor, one of the all-time great movie scores. It starts from the very beginning after they finish our conversation at the start, and we got Eisenberg making his way back to the room, and it's doing that like I don't even know what that instrument is, like some sort of strings that are just being like.
It just adds an atmosphere to everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it all feels like, again, this is just a movie about like some guy on a computer is what it is. But it feels so alive, and it feels like so much more than that. The first time I watched it, because I remember seeing the trailer and being like, they made a movie about the Facebook guy? Like, that's just going to suck. I can't wait to hate this movie, right? Yeah. And then you go watch it, and again, you give yourself up to it. You feel pulled in. It becomes unpredictable. But you're just sitting there. And it made me feel the same way that I feel sometimes when it's like late at night and I look at the moon. I feel insignificant. I'm like, fuck, that's like look at that thing just up in the sky. Like I could just die right now and who cares? Yeah. I don't know what that is that's happening inside my brain when I feel like that. But I remember watching this movie and being like, fuck, I could just die right now and who cares? Yeah. Like it was just so moving watching it. Oh my God. I love this movie. I love it.
I mean, I can totally relate to that, Shea, because I've loved it since it came out. I love David Fincher, but like you say, it doesn't sound like it's going to be a great time. about a couple of geeks
Right?
who made a website. It's like, who cares? And also to what you were saying, I can't put my finger on why I love this, but it does something. It makes me feel something. It makes me fizz, but I can't put my finger on what it is.
Yeah, it's just everybody at their absolute best. They're all plugged in. They're all making the same movie.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard thing to pull off, is to get everybody, I mean, to use a rowing metaphor, rowing in the same direction.
Yeah.
And they do it. And they all get instances where they get, like, again, little moments to shine in the movie. Right. And some of them are small, some of them are big. Fincher, for example, he does this whole movie and it's just like, all right, conversation. We're in this room, we're in that room. And then they do the race, the regalia or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And you've got the music going and we're cutting and we're getting some action.
Wow.
And it's 2 minutes of David Fincher in a fucking ISO situation where he's just like, give me the ball and get out of the way. That's all that it is. There's no conversation. There's no talking. There's no anything. It's just him with a bunch of people who don't even appear anywhere else in the movie.
No.
It's just like some guys rowing a boat and you care desperately about what's happening in it.
Yeah.
And it's him doing that. It's Aaron doing his thing. It's Eisenberg with the best performance of his career.
Oh,
he has always had this thing about where he just seems like, I don't know, I've never met him. I don't know if this is true. But when I watch him on screen, I feel like he looks like a guy who believes he's smarter and better than you are all the time.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And he gets to do that in this movie. He gets to be exactly that person, and he turns the volume all the way up on it.
Yeah.
And he just becomes such a menacing figure in the movie when you're like, man, I do not, like, I want to be around this guy, but I don't want to be around this guy.
Yeah.
Like I see that grizzly bear over there. I see that fox over there, and I want to pet it.
Yeah.
I want to pet it so bad, but I know what's going to happen if I do. Like, that's what he is in this movie. It's just like, it's incredible to watch. All of the pieces are just flowing right. Man, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And David Fincher, like you're saying, is just so good. I see the Zodiac poster behind you.
Favorite.
Like,
I love it.
That's another diner scene when it's Ruffalo and Gyllenhaal.
Jesus Christ.
And he's explaining it's 50 steps. Like, is that true?
Door
I've
to
walked it.
door.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my god. It's so good.
That's
Fincher
amazing.
is such a good director. He's such a good director that I do not like a movie that doesn't have like an ending. Like Training Day. Alonzo's dead.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
we hear the cover up. Like White Men Can't Jump. They beat the king and duck.
Yeah.
And then we see Rosie is gone. And like with Zodiac, there's no like they don't catch them.
No.
They don't catch them. And movies like that always make me like, oh, just answer the question, please. I'm begging you.
Yeah.
Just do it. But that's one of them, because it's David Fincher and because he's a fucking genius. That it's perfect. It's perfect how they do it in that one. And The Social Network is the same sort of way. Like, it just sort of, it places you into this world and you get to be in it for a while. And you know you could never come up with this world on your own. You're not smart enough. You're not talented enough to build this thing, to exist here. But you get to be in it for 2 hours or whatever it is. And it's so good, dude. Oh my God.
It's amazing. I mean, it's going to be a tough one, but favorite scene?
Oh my God. There's so many. Again, I feel inclined to go with the opening scene just because I like Rooney and Eisenberg bouncing that ball back and forth. But I think on the rewatch, when I rewatch all of these before we sat down to do this, and prior to the rewatch, the one line from the movie that always stands out to me, that it's the first one that I think of whenever you say The Social Network, right?
Yeah.
Like, this happens with all great movies. You say the name of a movie and a line should pop into your head. I say Taxi Driver and you're like, you looking at me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I say Jaws and you're like, we're going to need a bigger boat.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Got you.
When you say The Social Network, I immediately, in my head, I go to Eisenberg at the deposition table. And then he's like, it's very simple. If you guys were the inventors of Facebook, you'd have invented Facebook.
Yeah.
And then they show who he just said it to, and they're all like, oh fuck, he's right.
He's right.
Like, we can't do what he did. If we could, we would have done it. And it's a fucking sword swipe across the chest when you're just like, you're completely open. And that part to me always is just like, oh my God, that's who that character is. That's what that movie is in 10 words.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just all of the pieces. That's the one right there. That one line. Oh my
Incredible.
God.
This is the first time he mentioned any problem.
Yes, it was.
You sent 36 emails to Mr. Zuckerberg and received 16 emails in return, and this was the first time he indicated he was not happy.
That's correct. You had 42 days to study our system and get out ahead.
Do you see any of your code on Facebook?
Smart.
Did I use any of your code?
You stole our whole goddamn idea.
Fellas,
Match.com for
can I
Harvard.
continue with my deposition?
You know, you really don't need a forensics team to get to the bottom of this. If you guys were the inventors of Facebook, you'd have invented Facebook.
I can't wait to stand over your shoulder and watch you write us a check.
No shit.
Let's continue.
So you've got loads of things going on at the moment, Shea. You've got a new book out right now. It's called Action Hero Scouting Report. I've been lucky enough to read it. It's amazing. I absolutely loved it. What was the thinking behind that? Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, the thinking behind the Action Hero Scouting Report was I really like basketball. Basketball is my favorite game, which we probably could have guessed based on the movies that we picked here. And when you watch basketball, when you play basketball, when you coach basketball, you have scouting reports for the players. Like this player in this situation has this tendency. They're good at this. They're bad at this, whatever. I always thought that was an interesting concept. So I wanted to apply it to action heroes. Like some of my favorite movies ever are action movies. You know, Rambo and Die Hard and Hard Target, which is not a great movie, but it's super fun to watch.
Yeah.
Kill Bill. There are so many great action movies. Fury Road. If you want like a bona fide masterpiece action movie, like Fury Road, like
incredible.
Whatever. All of the movies stretch across. I mean, all the action movies stretch across the genre of types of movies that you're looking for. But so I wanted to do a scouting report, but each scouting report is just an action hero. And we're going to look at this person. We're going to like go through the list of things that you need to be a great action hero.
Yeah.
And we're going to like gamify it essentially. We're going to make scores for each situation and then put it all together. So for example, it's super easy to follow. Great action heroes is going to have 6 pieces, right? Number 1, they're going to have an inciting event. Every action hero is like thrust into action by a thing.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson in Taken, his daughter gets kidnapped by Albanian sex traffickers, right? John McClane in Die Hard, he ends up trapped in a building when the German radical terrorists show up with Hans Gruber and his team or whatever. Like they all have a thing like that.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing we look at. What was the inciting event for this action hero? If it's a really good one, really creative, they get a high score in that situation. If it's like a pretty generic, run-of-the-mill, whatever, you get a low score. But there's the inciting event. There is the skills training. What sort of skills training does this person have? Were they like Beatrix Kiddo in Kill Bill? Were they trained by a literal kung fu master?
Yeah.
Or is it like Antonio Banderas in Desperado? Is he just like an angry musician? Like he didn't have any training. He's just fucking mad, and he got a bunch of guns, right? So you have the skills training. You have the like, this is a made up thing, but we called it wishnificance, which is like the feeling you get when you're watching a movie when I want to be El Mariachi in Desperado for like 10 minutes. It seems like I feel like I want to be that guy, right? The more you want to be that character, the higher that score is. The less you want to be, the lower that score is. A good example is Jet Li in the movie Romeo Must Die. Not a great movie, but when you're watching it, in the movie he gets to flirt with Aaliyah, and he scores a touchdown in like a park football game, and he karate kicks a guy in the top of the head so hard that the guy's spine shatters. Like that's cool. I would like to be Jet Li in Romeo Must Die, but Jet Li in something like Unleashed, where he's like they keep him on a leash like a dog. And then when they take the leash off, he goes crazy, and they put the leash back. Like I don't want to be that version. Like that's a low wishnificance rating. But so we have like 6 of those types of categories, and we give scores to all of them. And then that you add all those up, and then you get your action hero score. And that's basically what's going on in the scouting report. Ideally, or essentially, all that I wanted to do was I just wanted to spend like 6 months rewatching all the action movies. And then I needed a reason to do that. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to write about it
I'm going to write a book.
here we go. Like, now give me some
Amazing.
money. Yeah.
Where can people buy it, Jay?
You can buy it at halfwaybooks.com. Halfway Books is an independent publishing company that we started a few years ago.
Yeah.
It's the only place to get it. You can't get it on Amazon. You can't get it in Barnes & Noble.
Mm-hmm.
Halfwaybooks.com is where you can get it.
Cool. Have you got any? I know that you're such an action movie aficionado. Have you got any plans to do anything else? Do you want to rewatch a load of horror films, for example, or a load of romantic comedies?
Oh man, yeah, it's always fun to do something like that. I don't know if you do the same thing. You just like get hooked on a theme, and you're like, I'm gonna watch a bunch of these.
Mm-hmm.
I did a similar thing last summer. I was out in New Mexico, right, and I was there for a couple of months on summer vacation. When I was out there working, but it was during summer break.
Yeah.
So I'm in New Mexico for a few months by myself. And it's like, I'm like a couple of hours from Roswell, which is like where the Area 51 is or whatever, where the secret aliens are. Say. And I didn't want to drive all the way to Roswell because there's like a few hours away. But what I did want to do is I did want to rewatch all the alien movies.
Yeah.
And not just like, and I don't mean just like the Alien Sigourney Weaver movies. I mean like any movie that had an alien in it, I wanted to rewatch it because again, I knew I was going to be out there for a couple of months.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and I rewatched all of them. Everything from like whatever Close Encounters to like Fire in the Sky.
Yeah.
To which is really it holds up really well.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, like all VHS, which has aliens in it, like out of nowhere. Like I wanted to rewatch all of them, and what ended up happening is I was rewatching them, and I noticed this thing that would go on where anytime there was an alien abduction, they would like get the guy up on the ship, and he'd be like freaking out. Oh my God, what's happening? Aliens! I'm terrified. Right? It was always the same way. They always like abducted a wimp. He'd get up there and there's a wimp, and I was like, man, I want to watch a movie where they abduct a guy and he gets up there, and it's like, oh shit. We accidentally abducted like Rambo or John Wick or whatever. Like that's a whole different thing. And I looked around for it and I couldn't find it. So I was like, well, I'm just going to write that shit.
Oh, yes.
And so then I spent like a couple of months writing a story called The Abduction, where these aliens abduct a guy and he gets up on the ship. And then he just goes fucking nuts and is just killing all the, like just hand-to-hand combat, killing aliens.
Oh, wow. I mean, I would watch that film.
I would watch that film too. That's why I wrote the short story. Maybe they make it into a movie one day. Who knows? But that always ends up happening to me is I always like get hooked on a thing and then I just watch a bunch of movies about a thing. It happened with Matthew McConaughey recently. I was on Amazon looking for something to watch. 2 for the Money came up. So he plays like a former college quarterback who is really good at picking sports gambling picks.
Yeah.
And Pacino runs a sports book. And he gets him to come work for him and whatever. But it's McConaughey just being like McConaughey. And he's super charming. And I'm like, man, I miss Matthew McConaughey. I'm going to watch a bunch of McConaughey movies. And then I was just like ripping through them. I was like, all right, let me watch Interstellar. Still great. Let me watch A Time to Kill. Still great. Let me watch Lincoln Lawyer.
Lincoln Lawyer is incredible.
It's so much fun. But that ends up, do you do that same thing where like you just end up hooked into like, all right, these are the movies I'm going to watch right now?
Yeah, I generally do it if I'm watching the first film in a film series. Like if I watch Saw, for example, then I'm watching the rest of them back to back until I get to the end. Always do that.
Did you do that for Dead Reckoning? Where you're like, I'm going to rewatch all the Mission Impossibles.
Yes. Yeah.
Before I go.
Mm-hmm. I did that for the last one as well.
It's such an investment. But it makes it like, I would have forgot all about Kittredge, for example.
Yeah.
Like I would have forgot about him.
Yeah.
But then he shows up in Dead Reckoning, and I was like, oh, from the first one, holy shit.
From the first one?
Yeah. It's so much fun, man. Movies are the best.
They're incredible. I always do it when me and my wife went to LA in November. So it was about 6 months before we went away of just watching films set in LA. That was it. That was the agenda.
Really?
There was no deviation from it. That's what we're watching, and I don't care.
Which ones did you rip through? Which one? Oh, not all of them. Which one stood out to you as like, I don't remember this being this good?
Yeah. Well, Training Day was one of them, but it wasn't like, I don't remember it being that good. It is such a gritty LA experience.
Yeah.
And you don't really know that until you've been to the place. To Live and Die in LA, Freakins To Live and Die in LA was
great.
Wild. But oh man,
Great.
he died a couple of days ago. Devastating.
Yeah, that was pretty sucky.
There was the Hal Ashby one, and oh Christ, 10 Million Ways to Die. 86, maybe 87. That's real sleazy. Love that.
Yeah.
Nightcrawler, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh my God,
That's
Some
incredible.
good Jake Gyllenhaal right there.
Yeah, amazing. So I just went through that for easy 6 months, and I didn't get sick. And then it was relatable when I visited as well.
It's cool to do, like, if you're doing those and you're like, all right, I'm gonna do Nightcrawler tonight, and you watch it, you're like, oof, this place seems awful. And then you watch like La La Land, and you're like, man, what magic! I want to be, and then like Gone in 60 Seconds or whatever. It's just like, how do they do that? How do they make the same city feel like all of these different pieces? It's so good.
Dangerous and exotic and exciting and enticing all in once. It's amazing.
What fun!
So, I haven't heard you on the rewatchables for a while. Obviously, I know you've been super busy. It's a great show, great podcast. What's going on there? Will you be making any appearances?
I love the rewatchables. I'll go on there if they ask me to go on there. That's usually how it works. Is they would just be like, hey, you want to pop up and do this movie? I worked at the Ringer for 6 years, and it was like maybe my favorite job that I've ever had. It's just like a bunch of really smart, talented people making really cool stuff. Yeah. And doing the rewatchables is so much fun. I still listen to it all the time. I think my favorite version of the show is when they do a movie that, like, oh, I love this movie. Like I mentioned, I was doing the McConaughey thing, and then they did A Time to Kill, and it was Bill and Wesley, and I was like, well, fire, I gotta do this now. And like just listening to smart people talk about movies is like one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, I love it.
All I want is for them to do the movies that I love, and I just want to listen to my absolute favorite bit that they do. That now I'm just like listening to the show because I just can't wait to get to this. Is at the end when Chris is on it, Chris Ryan, and he does the Wayne Jenkins thing. Every time it makes me laugh every single time. They did Alien, and he does Wayne Jenkins and Aliens, and I was like, all right, I gotta pull my car over for a second and just replay this bit. It's so fucking funny, dude. It's so good.
Yeah, it is great. I think the last time that I heard you on there was Tango and Cash, which I was kind of hoping that was going to be one of your choices.
Oh, Tango and Cash is top level Stallone, top level Kurt, just great 80s action movie.
So what's next then, Shea? What have you got going on? Any new books? Anything you're working on?
Man, I don't have anything going on right now because we're still on strike. The Writers Guild for Hollywood still on strike. We're on strike now with the actors. Yeah, today is officially 100 days, and we're not doing any work until they give us a fair deal. So I'm just sitting around watching movies, going through all the right movies, Twitter threads. This is my favorite. I love when that pops up and it's be like, Predator came out and John McTiernan, like great, whatever. But the story behind it is even bigger, and I'm like, let's fucking go. Let's go. Let's go. I know it's about to be 25 tweets for me to read, and like, it always sends you off into like offshoots of other stuff you want to find. I think y'all are doing great work over there.
Thank you.
That's all I'm doing is just hanging out with y'all and reading all y'all's stuff.
Cool. Well, hopefully those strikes will resolve soon. And
come on.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan, Shea, and I really love your work. So yeah, hopefully we'll get something soon.
I appreciate that. This is a lot of fun. I thank you for having me on.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming on. I hope all goes well with the book and everything goes well in the future.
Me too. All right, Bob.
Big thanks to Shea for coming on the show. Don't forget to check out the Action Hero Scouting Report on halfwaybooks.com. As for All the Right Movies, our latest podcast on classic and hit films is on Fight Club. That came out last week. And next week we're talking about Christopher Nolan's The Prestige. So make sure you come back for that. If you like the podcast, you can sign up to be an All the Right Movies Patreon supporter. You get access to all of the podcasts that we've created exclusively for Patreon and all of our classic podcast archive, which is stuffed full with around 130 episodes on classic and hit films. And that's not available anywhere else apart from our website, where you can buy it individually. That's alltherightmovies.com. But for Patreon, there are other benefits available as well, loads to get your teeth into, so go to patreon.com/alltherightmovies to support us and get access to hundreds of hours of great content. It'd be great if you could give us a positive rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. In the meantime, we're everywhere on social media. Like Shea said, on Twitter, we put up loads of great threads, loads of behind-the-scenes stuff, movie clips, pictures, and we are at ATRightMovies. On Instagram and Threads, we are at @all_the_right_movies. Join our Facebook group, follow us on TikTok at All the Right Movies. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our videos. They're going up all the time and they're great. And finally, our website with loads of incredible features is alltherightmovies.com. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Come back next week for The Prestige. See you soon.